Any garden, no matter how small, can be a haven for wildlife, which means you could have a nature reserve right on your doorstep. In fact, by just catering for 6 basic wildlife needs, you could earn yourself one of these. Our 6 wildlife needs must include one from each of the 4 main areas of food, shelter, water, and wildlife-friendly management. A pond is a perfect way to provide water in the garden, as it can support wildlife in a variety of ways. So it's definitely something to organise for this garden at some point. If a pond isn't practical, then don't despair. A simple bird bath or even an upturned dustbin lid will still provide that essential ingredient. As well as water, it's important to provide some shelter from predators, and this is where your vertical habitat comes in. If we cover the whole of this fence with trellis, then we can grow a variety of climbing plants which will encourage birds and insects into the garden. I think I'll plant some honeysuckle in there later, but in the meantime, let's plant some ivy up against the shed. Ivy is a valuable plant for many species. It provides both shelter and a source of food. Hopefully we can train this to grow up and around the bird box, and by trimming it off along the top, it should be easier to maintain. As well as honeysuckle with its different flowering seasons, I've also planted some rambling roses like this one, which despite its small beginnings can spread quite a distance, hence its name, Rambling Rector. I've also planted a cotoneaster. The ground cover varieties can also be trained up a trellis, creating a dense habitat. They also produce berries in winter, making them a good source of food and shelter. Bird feeders and tables are a firm favourite, with a variety of foods attracting an equal variety of birds, as well as fulfilling another of our wildlife needs. A compost heap provides a year-round food source for insectivorous animals, as well as being one of the features of wildlife-friendly management listed on the website. And the log pile of any size provides a mini habitat all of its own, and will prove popular with hedgehogs, reptiles and amphibians. Also grateful for a bit of help are butterflies, ladybirds and bees. The Maine Wildlife Trust website has some great ideas for making your own wildlife housing, or you can buy them ready-made. Solitary bees are fascinating to watch, and the house has proved so popular that I'm going to add another one. There. Between insect houses and bird boxes, we've covered shelter and a place to breed in one go. As well as housing, include nectar-rich plants and bushes like sea holly, escallonia, lavender, hebe and buddleia. And plants such as berberis and cotoneaster etc. also produce berries which will help your birds too. If you can make room for even a small patch of grass to go wild, you'll be rewarded with an array of insects like soldier beetles, garden chafers and hoverflies. Apart from time to grow, all that's needed for this garden is its pond. A fully fledged pond can fill the 4 basic needs of certain types of wildlife that have food, water, shelter and somewhere to breed. Be sure to provide shallow edges for creatures like hedgehogs to get out of, a planting shelf and a minimum depth of 77 centimetres, or in old money 2.5 feet. Don't be too quick to dispose of the soil you dig out. There's bound to be a use for it somewhere in a wildlife garden. For instance, you could build a raised bed like this one, or even a hibernaculum. But more about that later. If possible, fill your pond with help from a water butt, which also counts as one of your 6 provisions for wildlife gardening. If you're cutting into the bank to level up your pond, then you can take advantage of the need to support the bank by using rocks, etc. for insects and amphibians to hide in. This pond has a beach area for birds and hedgehogs to drink from, and the early stages of a bog garden. Lining the hole with offcuts of pond liner will help to keep it damp, And a half-buried plant pot or two will be popular with frogs and toads. If you have room for it, then why not add a hibernaculum? This one's made up of a couple of old pallets and filled with things to hide in or under. It's a good way to use up some of your pond soil and encourage more insects and so on. Remember to provide several entrances. These pipes are ideal for insects and this larger entrance for frogs and toads. For more information, why not visit the Wildlife Trust website or send off for one of these. And when you've fulfilled your 6 wildlife needs, you can apply for your wildlife garden plaque and make your garden the newest nature reserve in the country. Good luck.